Oh, okay, so I'm outside today because I needed to get away from people. I've been in a mood today. I've been moody. I've been moody today. And I started to realize that, I'm moody. I tend to wear my emotions on my sleeve. Okay, so when I'm moody, I'm not hiding anything. um, but instead of like being one of those moody people that forces the people that are around you to like seek shelter, like my husband and my kids and my mom to an extent, like have them like disperse and be like, okay, she just needs a minute. I tend to like come out here to my back deck. Oh, look at the hummingbird. Sorry you didn't see it, but I did. To the back, my back deck, which is like my space, and get away from people. It's like my moment to hide away. And I was pulling some cards. I got a new deck, which is the Tarot of the She, courtesy of Fairy Godmother. And Judgment came up. Now, I don't talk a lot about my problem cards on the channel. I should make, because that's been a hashtag that's been going around. I should make a video about that. I've made videos about tarot that mention my complicated relationship with the Judgment card and the complicated relationship with the Hierophant card. Mainly at the beginning, just for the religious connotations, symbolism that is wrought in the Rider-Waite-Smith system, as that's the deck I learned with. So I had problems with the card, but also because I couldn't seem to push past the religiosity of it. And now, but on the in the sphere of Judgment itself, I never had a problem with like rapture or the ascension. Really, if we're talking about what the card looks like, it looks like ascension. It doesn't necessarily have to be this Christian. You don't have to put a Christian take on it if you don't want to, it could just be ascension. And then I got to thinking about my complicated relationship with Judgment since it came up today, since I had a bad attitude. I just didn't want people. I didn't want people. And I got to thinking about these, I guess it's called a maxim or an idiom, where it's like, like with a thumbnail, only God can judge me. And I got to thinking that, if we took God out of that, you don't have to, okay? But I'm saying, like, if you took God out of that, who is our judge and jury? And then it's such a beautiful take when, especially in tarot, because of the Judgment card and what it is and where it is in the major arcana, it's so nice to see people do things that make you think about how you would judge yourself, how you would essentially ascend and transcend yourself, and the cycles in which you go through. And so, actually, here I am. I'm just like rambling, talking. But in the Tarot of the She, the Judgment card looks like this. I'm gonna get some glare because it's really sunny. Well, it's sunny off there because it's like the evening time. But it's like this, the She here. But it kind of looks like the Twilight Bark or the Lord of the Rings beacons, the fire beacons. And to me, this looks like a calling. Like you relay this, you put forth this call to the universe, because this very much has a wind. You know how much I love the wind. Okay, I'm not getting any wind right now, like at all today. Maybe that's my problem. But it does look like this figure, this she is blowing forth this palette of wind into the universe and is saying something, right? There's a message on the wind here. And then the she, in various places on the mountaintops, pick the call up. They pick the call up, and then they either add or take away something from the message. It's kind of like the game telephone, right? And how it weaves and molds through the power lines of the earth, right? And I got to thinking, about Judgment being a calling, and how when you think of calling, or whenever I had thought about calling, I thought about like the superhero mindset, where you have a you have a calling. You have this thing that people say is your calling, your life purpose, I guess. Like very much like in in one of my favorite decks of all time, the Tarot of the Crone, the Judgment card is called Calling. And it's this bird-like goddess that stands here holding, now this goddess is holding a red cape for you to wear, as saying, you have passed all the tests, you have gone through all the doors, you can wear your own cloak now, you no longer have to shield yourself under mine, is kind of what the message I got from this, right? But it's such a beautiful message that this is like the superhero card. You're like called to arms, if you will, called to finally do what you were set out to do, finally do your life's purpose. And then I got to thinking, okay, because of my attitude, I like push back on that. I'm like, well, I don't know what the hell my purpose would be. What is my purpose on this earth, you know? But then you kind of get defensive about that. I got defensive about the fact that I don't know what my purpose is, you know, where's my cloak at, you know, start getting a little, I don't know, bratty about it. But then I have to think about back to this, how, you know, what I put out in the universe could be what's like, it's a telephone. It's a telephone, which means I'm not just saying, or the universe isn't just saying, hey, here's your calling, pick up the phone. We're on a phone call, okay? It's a call. It's a calling, okay? Ring, ring, I'm calling you. You pick up on the other end, and there's a line in between both of them, you know? It's not something like the universe is saying, here's your life purpose, pick me up, and I'm just ignoring the phone call. It's an active phone call. I've got one phone, and the universe has the other phone, and we have to have a dialogue. We have to have a conversation about the calling, the seeking, and all of that. My life purpose. And it's a conversation that I can have with my sense of source like this, instead of me going, okay, universe, where the hell's my cloak? You know, like, just give it to me already, and I will work my butt off. I will work and work and work, and I will get it done, you know? I'll get her done, and I will show you that I'm the best at whatever this life purpose is, you know? Like, if you'll just let me, you know? I'm just being bratty about it, instead of realizing that I am this figure that can judge myself, that can hold myself accountable, and that can make my own decisions, that will aid me in finding my life purpose. It's not up to some grand source, God, divinity to like somehow bow down to me and be like, we're not worthy, here you go, this is your job now, you know? Like, sometimes I get kind of in a rut with the universe, especially when I get cards that have been, you know, problem or tough, the tougher cards, you know? But then also when playing around with the Tarot of the She, I think of this being a very elemental deck in nature, and how it's very, I find it very earth, but otherworldly at the same time. So I feel like I'm the conduit. In the moment of using the deck, I become the conduit, and I become this figure that stands on the bridge, literally, quite literally on a bridge between the earth and the other world. And it's just in a matter of, like, I'm standing on the cord of the two phones, and it's just a matter of where I'm looking at the moment. Am I looking at the earth phone, or am I looking at the otherworldly phone? And it doesn't actually matter which phone I answer, or, you know, at a given time. Oh, motorcycle. It just matters that I know I'm there. I know I'm on the bridge. I know that I can play with the otherworldly beings and stuff like that. No matter what problem cards come up, it's just about me being in this, stop being so bratty, you know, with my higher self, even. Not saying, okay, higher self, pick up the damn phone. It's been sitting there. It's been on the phone the whole time, you know. I've just muted it. So anyway, so I think about this. I mean, it's a beautiful freaking image. I mean, come on. Like this figure with the crown and the ribbons as wings. I know Emily Carning talked about, I don't know if this is in the guidebook or an interview I watched of hers, but she talks about the ribbons being, they're not wings. They're made to be wings if you want them to be wings. Kind of a thing. So I thought that was really interesting because I've always associated ribbons with Litha and the summer solstice, and like colorful ribbons with prayers, wishes, the Fae, even to an extent. I know that the She aren't technically Fae, but it reminds me of the Fae realm, I guess. And so to have this very colorful being here with ribbons on their backs, on their shoulder blades, calling forth the messages of, I mean, they're way high up. You see the clouds, you know? And to have this be the Judgment card, I'm thinking, wow, you know, like how different does it look from this? Then yes, I wrote on my cards. This is a very kind of a newer, like $10 deck that I got for myself because my youngest was showing a little interest. You know how we are, that he showed a little interest in wanting to learn the tarot. And so I got this $10 deck a while ago now and just started writing the keywords on all the cards for him to like shuffle and play with and stuff. And then, you know, it just is what it is with kids, you know, their attention span went, but you get excited, right? I'm trying to teach you something. Here I am being bratty about it, you know, I'm trying to teach you something, sit down and shut up. But then I wasn't really on the phone, you know. I thought I was, but I wasn't. But it doesn't look like this, right? This angel and these people that are in this rapture, you know, the horns blowing and all that. It looks so different. And I like when cards do that because it makes me think of how I can judge myself. And then I got to thinking of the axiom before. I don't know where I was going with that. I knew where I was going to go with that, but I don't know if I went there or not. The axiom, only God can judge me. I got to thinking, what if the universe is judging me? What if the universe, is the God in that statement? You know, only the universe can judge me. And then, in a bratty moment, I thought, well, who the hell are them to judge me? No one's going to judge me. If I don't feel good about this, if I don't feel right about this, then I won't do it, you know? Like, there's no sense in nobody judging me, you know? Like, why would the universe care? Right? I was just being really bratty about the fact that when the Judgment card comes up, sometimes I get so bratty with my sense of divinity, my sense of source, and I'm thinking, who are you really? Who am I really? If you can answer that, then I'll listen to you. But what if it's not about the listening? It's just about discernment, and it's about transcendence, you know? Like, what if the cloak in the Tarot of the Crone is about transcendence? Like, this gift that the universe is giving you isn't necessarily a calling card. Here you go, you're a superhero now. It's just a boon. And it's shrouded in mystery and mist, and it's like translucent, you know? It's not this big velvety cloak that she's given you in a red box with a red bow, you know? It's this mystical gift, and you have to feel it. It's a feeling, and the feeling of discernment, of knowing you're accepted, and knowing that, you know, as long as you don't judge yourself too harshly, you can transcend, you know, you can ascend. Even though I believe too that even in the Rider-Waite-Smith, these are multiple people, right? Because it's made to be like this graveyard, and everybody gets up, you know, in the rapture. But I believe this to be like a personal experience, you know, like with your sense of divinity, even if it's the angel at the end times. I still feel like this is a personal thing, you know. I've also found interesting that in using this deck, anyway, I'm moving along here. I'm moving along. It's like my attitude today. I'm just like, woo. But there's another card. It's Dreamer King, which the dreamers in the Tarot of the She are swords. But the Dreamer King is riding this badass dragon, okay? And the key word or the gift, the court cards in this deck have gifts that they give you. And I thought that was so perfect because this card came up as well. But it was the gift of Judgment. And I thought, how would these two relate? Because this one's not blowing this windy message out into for someone to grab. So what is he, what is he doing? But it's this, like, she looks like a warrior. Actually, they look like a warrior. Riding this huge, like, dragon. What is the dog, the dragon dog's name in Neverland? Not Neverland. Never-ending Story. Atreyu? Or is that the horse's name? Jesus, someone's going to annihilate me in the comments. My husband would annihilate me if I didn't know that. I think it's Atreyu. Is the dog, the big dog dragon. And this figure is riding this dragon, and it's about the third eye, and it's about the sword being right here at the forehead. And I got to thinking, okay, what does it mean? Like, it has to mean something. It doesn't have to mean anything. But like right here, it's balanced perfectly on his third eye. And I thought, that's discernment in a spiritual context. That's discernment in a third eye mental complex. Concept, context. Ooh, it's getting all the kinds of words mixed up. My body temperature's raised up. But then I got to, thinking in a warrior, the warrior of the mindset. This figure is thinking with its mind, but also its third eye. It's keeping it open. It's keeping it available for the all. And how beautiful that is. How beautiful it is to be one with it all while you are balancing the sword, while you are maintaining the balance on the battlefield. I think of The Art of War, and Sun Tzu talks so eloquently in his Art of War book about keeping the balance and what you actually need in war. And there's such a spiritual aspect to the book and the way he wrote it that pulls at the warrior maiden that lives inside of me, that agrees with so much of what he says, and how harsh war is, but how spiritual it can be, and how it's not just about the fight, it's about discerning everything. The land and the horses, are they getting fed? Are my men getting fed? Are my men happy? If they're are they in the right mindset for battle? Like, all kinds of stuff. When you think about discernment and this sense of transcendence that you must have, and that's the calling. The transcendence as the calling. And it also leads me to one more thing, because I'm almost done with this ramble, is the Psychic Tarot for the Heart by John Holland is one of those, it's one of those tarot decks that's really a oracle deck, but it's technically a tarot deck. Its Judgment card is called Blossom. And it makes me think of the age-old story of the flower doesn't care about anyone else. It just blooms. It's not worried about the other flowers in the garden. This is not some Alice in Wonderland garden where all the flowers are judging one another and judging Alice, Part of me wanted those flowers to just be like, it's okay, you can be part of our flower bed, but they were all bitches. I think that was my only, I hated that about that. But let's say I loved the take on John Holland's Judgment, because it is about trusting yourself, transcending yourself in all kinds of mundane and spiritual ways. And it's about, I think too, there's some rebirth to it. much like death is transformation and rebirth as well, but then judgment is actually rebirth, the turning of the cycles. And it's about being present for those moments, for those tiny moments in which those things happen. And also criticisms, you know, learning about criticisms, learning about constructive criticisms, and learning about being accepting of that. I think those are also calling cards in the judgment realm. But anyway, let me read a little bit of what John Holland wrote about Blossom. Now, this deck, Psychic Tarot of the Heart, is about, like, the focus is relationships, but we're going to read it. Then when the message comes through, it always resonates with me in terms of self, not necessarily in terms of relationships. So, with the proper amount of nurturing, the relationship will blossom and bring beauty to the lives of those involved. It's time for you to nurture the potential of your relationships. New life and love are waiting for you. A blossom follows the sun because its warmth and light nurture the flower and infuse it with energy. The sun even provides some of the nutrients needed by the blossom. What is the sun in your own life? And then the affirmation, which is something beautiful that he does at the end of his descriptions for this card, is, I awaken to the beauty of relationships that nurture me. And it's kind of like you getting out what you put in, and that relationship that you either have with yourself or others, or your sense of divinity. Like, it's not always up to divinity to slap me in the face and go, okay, you're being a bratty bitch right now, shut up and listen. Sometimes they will, but then sometimes they'll just be like, keep being a bitch. Let's just see what happens. Let's just let it play out, you know? It's like almost like they're like waiting on all the dominoes to fall and they don't even care. And not in a bad way, just in one of those like cutesy parental ways kind of a thing, where they're like, okay, sure. So anyway, there was a little bit about my rambling thoughts on judgment, and you know, I guess a little bit on how attitudes can change your outlook, especially when you're talking about the cards and dealing with cards and stuff, and how cool that is, how cool the tarot is. Even with bad attitudes, you can still transcend. Anyway, okay, I feel a little bit better actually getting all that out. So appreciate y'all. Hope to see all of you again soon. Much love.